is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
Good evening, Philippines, and good day, world. It's Tuesday, December 12, 2023, and you're watching Newsline World. I'm Kristel Guangco, and we will bring you the top stories we've gathered from all over the globe. SMNI Laban Kasama ang Bayan, anchors Ka Eric and Dr. Lorraine Badoy are now free days after they were detained by the House of the Representatives. Israel's defense minister said that Hamas is on the verge of dissolution and claimed that hundreds of the group's operatives have surrendered to their troops. Russian President Vladimir Putin inaugurated the fourth-generation nuclear-propelled submarines that will soon join his country's Pacific Naval Fleet. U.S. President Joe Biden and his rival, former President Donald Trump, traded insults again and called each other a threat to American democracy. And Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida vowed to restore public trust as the country is engulfed with the slush funds controversy. This and more for tonight's edition of Newsline World. First in our news, the Armed Forces of the Philippines is intensively preparing for the upcoming series of the Balikatan, or shoulder-to-shoulder exercises between the Philippines and the U.S. Armed Forces. Let's get the details from Paul Montebon.
The Philippines, led by its armed forces, is gearing up for its participation in the annual Philippine-U.S. Joint and Combined Exercise Balikatan 39-24, or BK 39-24, is scheduled for next year. A meeting was held by representatives from the Philippine Army and other major services of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. The 5-day conference commenced on Monday, December 11, and it's set to conclude on Friday, December 15, 2023, under the supervision of the AFP Education Training and Doctrine Command at Camp Aguinaldo General Headquarters. Plans and activities between the Philippines and the United States Armed Forces and the Pacific Command were discussed during the conference, focusing on strengthening interoperability, especially in the areas of counterterrorism and humanitarian assistance and disaster response between the two countries. Meanwhile, according to the AFP records, this year, 2023, saw the highest number of participants in Balikatan Exercise 38-23, reaching to 17,600 between the Philippines and the United States. It was clarified earlier by both countries that the purpose of these military drills is not to provoke war, but to enhance the defense capabilities of both nations in anticipation of challenges to sovereignty and territory. For God and my beloved Philippines, reporting Paul Montebon, SMNI News.
Russia has brand new fourth-generation nuclear submarines that will join the country's Pacific Fleet soon, and more will be rolled out, according to Russian President Vladimir Putin. Shekinah Dekenya reports.
President Vladimir Putin promised to strengthen the naval prowess of Russia as his country inaugurated two new fourth-generation nuclear-propelled submarines in the shipyard city of Severodvinsk. The two vessels, named Emperor Alexander III and Krasnoyarsk, are set to join the Russian Navy's Pacific Fleet, as touted by Putin.
Уже в скором времени подводные ракетоносцы «Император Александр III» и «Красноярск» начнут нести вахту на Тихоокеанском флоте, охранять дальневосточные рубежи Отечества. Работа по повышению военно-морской мощи России, безусловно, будет продолжена. Количественно укрепим боеготовность военно-морского флота России, нашу морскую мощь в Арктике, на Дальнем Востоке, на Черном, на Балтийском море, на Каспии, в важнейших стратегических районах Мирового океана.
The Emperor Alexander III is the seventh vessel in Russia's strategic Bory-class series. It is also the fourth among the upgraded Bory-A variants. Putin said 3 more Bory-A submarines are currently under construction and are expected to be launched over the next few years, with 5 other Yasin-M vessels currently under construction. Reporting, this has been Shekinah Dekenya, SMNI News.
The Prime Minister of Japan vowed to remove government officials involved in a widening slush funds scandal. Rhea Saito has the details.
Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida vowed to restore public trust in his government and take appropriate action against erring public officials. The Prime Minister is reportedly planning to purge ministers linked to a fundraising scandal. Kishida announced plans to make changes to his cabinet and his party executive following reports that lawmakers in his group received undeclared political funds. The scandal mostly involved top cabinet and party posts from the ruling Liberal Democratic Party's largest and most powerful faction, formerly led by assassinated former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. The erring public officials allegedly failed to report several hundred million yen in public funds that have gone to monitored slush funds. Implicated officials could face a possible violation of campaign election laws. Kishida said he's taking the matter seriously and that authorities are investigating the criminal complaint. To recall, Kishida stepped down as the chief of his faction in the ruling Liberal Democratic Party as lawmakers face criticism over the unreported fundraising proceeds. Ijo Nicolas Italians, Smashmashta, SMNI News, Japan.
Mining experts believe that Saudi Arabia has the competitive edge to emerge as a global leader in green minerals. Melchizedekades reports.
Saudi Arabia's Deputy Minister of Industry and Mineral Resources for Mining Affairs outlined the oil-rich kingdom's strategic move to support the global shift to a greener future and boost its national transformation. This week, the ministry said that Saudi Arabia holds a unique competitive edge as a central hub for mineral processing, such as green minerals, steels, aluminum, copper, and magnesium. Saudi Arabia is the third largest producer of phosphate fertilizer, or almost 7% of the global supply, while its natural resources are estimated to be around $1.3 trillion. The oil-rich kingdom will host the third edition of the Future Minerals Forum, scheduled from January 9th to 11th, 2024. Minerals like lithium, cobalt, and graphite are important in achieving a low-carbon future and to fuel green energy. Green minerals are necessary to build solar panels, wind turbines, and other technologies that will decarbonize economies. According to the World Bank, the demand for lithium, cobalt, and graphite could jump by as much as 500% by 2050. Meanwhile, the International Energy Agency forecasted that the world needs 3 billion tons of metals and minerals by 2050 to keep pace with the shift toward clean energy. In 2016, Saudi Arabia announced plans to reduce its reliance on oil by strengthening its non-oil sector to address the climate crisis as part of its Vision 2030. Reporting, this has been Melchizedekades, SMNI News, Kuwait.
The United Nations Climate Change Summit in the United Arab Emirates ended with international negotiators divided on whether to reduce fossil fuels. Trisha Molina has the news.
The United Nations-led summit, known as COP28, ended in Expo City, Dubai, after nearly 2 weeks of speeches, demonstrations, and negotiations. The draft text of a summit agreement released on Monday caused divisions after the word phase out was dropped and instead replaced with reducing the production and consumption of fossil fuels. At least 80 countries, including the United States and the European Union, supported the call to finally end the use of fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and gas. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia and Russia were among several countries that insisted only on reducing climate pollution instead of phasing it out. All 198 countries must agree on the draft, or there is no deal. Without a deal, negotiators are expected to meet again beyond the climate summit after the deadline was not met. The UN Climate Change Summit ended on Tuesday, December 12. Reporting for Newsline World, Trisha Molina, SMNI News.
Kabayan! Oo, ikaw. Alam mo ba na you can win lots of prizes when you bring home a guest in the Philippines? The Department of Tourism brings you the Visita Be My Guest program. Joining is easy. 1. Sign up as a sponsor. You can do this via the official BBMG website. All Filipinos of legal age living in the Philippines or abroad can join. 2. Invite your guests. The more you invite, the more chances of winning. And 3. Travel to the Philippines and upload your proof of travel to complete the registration process and earn e-raffle tickets and the BBMG travel passport and privilege card that you can use to get discounts as you travel around our award-winning destinations in the Philippines. Join now and get a chance to win in any of the 3 raffle dates in 2023. So what are you waiting for? Come home and bring a guest to the Philippines. Sign up, invite friends and family, and travel to the world's leading beach and dive destination and the world's leading country destination for tourism, the Philippines. Visita Be My Guest in the Philippines.
Indulge in every perfect cup of Avon. Satisfy your caffeine cravings at Davao City's best. David's Coffee Shop, located near Davao International Airport at Philippine-Japan Friendship Highway, Sasa, Davao City. For booking and reservation, call us at 0956-517-9600 or visit our Facebook and online websites. We cater food for meetings, events, pickup, and deliveries. David's Coffee Shop. Good food on the go.
Narito na ang programang magtutuwid sa mga baluktot na paniniwala, mga usaping dapat malaman ng taong bayan. Ang tunay na boses ng mamamayan. Walang kinatatakutan, walang pinapanigan, kundi ang katotohanan lamang. Dito sa Laban kasama ang bayan.
Tuwing Lunes, Miyerkules at Huwebes, alas 9 ng gabi, usapang politika, usapang mamamayan, usapang pangkalahatan. Samahan niyo po ako, si Peter Serrano, para sa Usapang Makabayan dito sa SMNI News Channel para sa Diyos at sa Pilipinas nating mahal. Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, Pilipinas muna.
We don't need to explain because truth needs no justification. We are not afraid because the truth will always win. When we ask questions, it's always for the good of all. We question to build, not to break. We question to clarify, not to confuse. We question to protect, not hurt. Truth hurts, but it heals. Tune in to SMNI, where truth is free. SMNI, defining true press freedom.
Isang paglilingkod bayan na naman ang hatid ng SMNI para sa inyo mga kababayan. Dagdagan natin ang ating kaalaman patungkol sa kalusugan at iba't ibang mga sakit sa pamamagitan ng pagtuturo gamit ang ating sariling wika ng mga natatangi at espesyalistang mga doktor sa ating bansa. Itawag ang inyong mga naishinga ng payo patungkol sa inyong karamdaman.
Magandang umaga Luzon, Visayas at Mindanao.
Dito lang sa programa ng mga doktor ng bayan.
Magandang umaga Pilipinas. Good.
Samahan sina Kyle Selva, Val Divina Gracia at ang mga doktor ng bayan sa pangunguna ng dalubhasang doktor na si DOH Secretary Ted Herbosa.
Serbisyong pangkalusugan para sa Pilipinas nating mahal.
Tuwing Sabado alas 9:30 hanggang alas 10:30 ng umaga. Dito lamang sa SMNI. Mga doktor ng bayan, serbisyo publiko ng SMNI. Para sa Pilipinas nating mahal.
Kung akong tatanungin, kahit saang aspeto, gusto ko garantisado. Metikuloso akong tao, kaya gusto ko lahat maayos at sigurado. Lahat quality, yung hindi ako makukompromiso, pero sulit ang presyo. Ganyan ang clean fuel. Kaya dito, panatag ang loob ko.
Magandang umaga po, sir. Full tank po.
Full tank. Gusto mo ng dekalidad na gasolina pero sulit ang halaga, mag-clean fuel ka.
Now we're back for more update. Bird flu outbreaks have killed close to 1,000 seals and sea lions in Brazil. The H5N1 virus arrived in South America in October 2022 and has killed thousands of domestic birds in the region. An estimated 942 sea mammal deaths have been recorded in the southernmost state of Rio Grande do Sul as the country struggles with a significant bird flu outbreak. Top officials in Brazil are looking for ways to contain the highly contagious H5N1 avian flu since the first cases were reported in the country in May. Brazil's Agriculture Ministry extended a national health emergency for another 180 days in November after more cases have been detected among wild birds. The uncontrolled bird flu has not only posed a danger to many bird populations and mammals, but also posed a risk to humans. Authorities rushed to isolate the bird flu virus after it killed nearly 1,000 seals and sea lions in Rio Grande do Sul. At least 522 seals and sea lions were also found dead along the coast of southern Brazil in October. Experts fear that this strain of bird flu could be transported by birds or mammals to Antarctica, where little could be done to prevent its spread among wild animals. Brazilian officials also collected samples of dead porpoises and penguins found on beaches to confirm if they were also infected. Former Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Attorney Salvador Panelo believes that advocating for the closure of SMNI is wrongful. He also has a message for Congress members who want to shut down the network. Kristel Guangco has the details.
Mali. Sapagkat kung may violation, ang unang hakbang dyan, imbestigahan mo.
The move advocating the suspension of SMNI's operation is deemed wrongful. This is the statement made by former Presidential Legal Counsel Attorney Salvador Panelo regarding the resolution being pushed by Congresswoman Migs Nograles. Nograles' resolution encourages the National Telecommunications Commission or NTC to suspend SMNI's operations while the investigation into the alleged violations of the said network is ongoing. Panelo's standpoint is that the alleged violations of SMNI must be proven before any sanctions against the network are imposed.
I'm more concerned about that House resolution na isinusulong ng isang kongresista from Davao City kung saan sinasabi niyang may mga violations and nagbigay siya ng mga 3 provision na may paglabag ang SMNI. At sinabi niya, pending the investigation, kailangan suspendin ang operasyon. Yan po sa tingin natin, mali. Sapagkat, kung may violation, ang unang hakbang dyan, imbestigahan mo. Hindi po pwedeng sususpendin mo ang operasyon. Kung baga, nag-conclude ka na agad. Kasi, you're alleging violation, then you have to prove na may violation before any sanction can be made.
Meanwhile, Panelo advised Congress members who are pushing for SMNI shutdown and its anchors to separate the network from the anchors. He also stressed that the network and its anchors are separate entities.
Ang problema dito sa mga kongresista natin, mawalang galang na po sa inyo, ihiwalay ninyo yung network sa mga anchors. Hindi po pwedeng pagkaisa inyo sapagkat iba ho ang entity ng network doon sa mga anchors. Kaya nga ho tayo palagi may disclaimer na tinatawag. Yung mga pahayag, opinyon ng programang ito ay hindi nangangahulugan o na naglalarawan na ito ang pahayag at opinyon ng studyong ito o ng network na ito.
Panelo also suggested that if there are violations of the laws or regulations, the anchors should be sued but not the entire network.
Ang mga anchors sa isang network, lahat ng network, meron po silang laya na magbigay ng kanilang opinyon, komentaryo sa mga nangyayari sa ating bansa. Subalit, pag sila ay lumabag sa regulasyon ng batas, sapagat hindi naman absoluto ang karapatang magsalita at magpahayag. The freedom of speech and of expression is not absolute. It is subject to libel laws. So pag may problema po kayo sa mga anchors dito at sa iba pang network, sa tingin nyo, mali ang impormasyon na kinakalat nila at sa pamamagitan niya ay nakakasira sa reputasyon at integridad ng tao, abay magdemanda po. I-demanda ninyo ang mga anchors, hindi yung SMNI.
For God and my beloved Philippines, Kristel Guangco, SMNI News.
In other news, U.S. President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump called each other a threat to American democracy. And this back and forth by the two rivals comes as the country is gearing up for the 2024 elections. Carlo De La Peña has the details.
U.S. President Joe Biden labeled his rival, Donald Trump, an existential threat to U.S. democracy as he responded to the former president's recent comments, pushing back on such words by claiming that it is Biden who is really the destroyer of American democracy. At the first of 3 campaign fundraisers in Boston held recently, Biden said, quote, "I don't think anyone doubts our democracy is even more at risk than in 2020. This time, we are running against the election denier-in-chief. Trump's not even hiding the ball anymore. He's telling us what he's going to do. He's making no bones about it." End of quote. Biden earlier warned that Trump was a major threat, saying, quote, "Let's be clear about what's at stake in 2020. Donald Trump and his MAGA Republican determined to destroy American democracy." To recall, Trump brushed off Democracy Party warnings that his win represented a threat to the U.S. as a hoax and misinformation. On an event hosted on Saturday by the New York Young Republican Club, Trump was quoted saying, "Can you believe it? This is their new line, you know? Here we go again. Russia, Russia, Russia. Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine. One hoax after another. But no, I am not a threat. I will save democracy. The threat is crooked Joe Biden." End of quote. He was also criticized by Democratic Party rivals for saying that he intended to become a dictator for a day if he's re-elected as president so he could install more border fortifications and introduce domestic oil production policies. "I said I want to be a dictator for one day, and you know why I wanted to be a dictator? Because I want a wall, right? I want a wall and I want to drill, drill, drill." Trump is still entangled in various state and federal legal battles related to many allegations, including one about him allegedly attempting to overturn the 2020 election results, though he was nudged ahead of Biden in polling for a possible presidential race in 2024, according to the Wall Street Journal. On the other hand, Biden is facing U.S. House Republicans who are eyeing a vote on Wednesday to formalize an impeachment inquiry against him. House Republicans are accusing Biden and his family of improperly profiting from policy decisions that Biden participated in when he was vice president during the administration of President Barack Obama. They are also accusing the U.S. Justice Department of interfering with a probe into Biden's son, Hunter Biden, which the Justice Department rejected these claims. Reporting, this has been Carlo de la Peña, SMNI News.
China has lifted sanctions from 3 slaughterhouses in Australia as relations between the two countries continue to improve. Shayna Salim reports.
After years of trade war that affected billions of dollars in Australian products, China once again took the step to remove tariffs from certain abattoirs welcomed by meat manufacturers across the country. Trade Minister Don Farrell hailed the decision as another positive step in stabilizing bilateral relations with China and assured that the government will keep pressing for Beijing to remove the remaining trade sanctions on Australian products. The Australian Meat Industry Council also welcomed the decision. China's lifted suspensions on 3 of 10 slaughterhouses in Australia, which means products from these facilities will now be allowed to be imported, pending final administrative processes by authorities. However, a number of meat establishments in Australia remain suspended. China lifted sanctions on imports of Australian hay in September. In the same month, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese met Chinese Premier Li Qiang on the sidelines of the East Asia Summit in Jakarta and was followed by a meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping in November. In October, Beijing agreed to review the trade restrictions imposed on Australian wine, while attempts to remove tariffs on live lobsters are still underway. China imposed trade sanctions on worth $20 billion of Australian products at the height of diplomatic tensions between the two countries in 2020. Reporting from Melbourne, this is Shayna Salim, SMNI News, Australia.
Fusa Tatsumi, the 116-year-old oldest person in Japan, passed away. Born in April 1907, Tatsumi spent her final years in a nursing home in Kashiwara. She held the title of the oldest person in Japan since April 2023, following the passing of a 119-year-old woman from Fukuoka. As of January this year, the oldest living woman in the world is Maria Brañas Morera from Spain, who is now 116 years old and was born in March 1907. More news after the break.
Kabayan! Oo, ikaw. Alam mo ba na you can win lots of prizes when you bring home a guest in the Philippines? The Department of Tourism brings you the Bisita Be My Guest program. Joining is easy. 1. Sign up as a sponsor. You can do this via the official BBMG website. All Filipinos of legal age living in the Philippines or abroad can join. 2. Invite your guests. The more you invite, the more chances of winning. And 3. travel to the Philippines and upload your proof of travel to complete the registration process and earn e-raffle tickets and the BBNG travel passport and privilege card that you can use to get discounts as you travel around our award-winning destinations in the Philippines. Join now and get a chance to win in any of the 3 raffle dates in 2023. So what are you waiting for? Come home and bring your guests to the Philippines. Sign up, invite friends and family, and travel to the world's leading beach and dive destination and the world's leading country destination for tourism, the Philippines. Bisita, be my guest in the Philippines.
Kababayan na nasa ibayong dagat at mayroong mga mahal na nasa ibang bansa, maging sa mga nais mga ibang bayan. Abangan ang programang Kabayan Abroad sa bagong itong time slot tuwing Biyernes, alas 9 hanggang alas 10 ng gabi, si Kabayan Parties Representative Ron Salo, Lady B at Sara Santos ng SMNI. Alamin ang mga programa ng pamahalaan, kabayan at SMNI para sa ating mga OFWs. Matuto patungkol sa iba't ibang kultura, tunghayan ng pagtatagumpay ng ating mga bagong bayani sa Kabayan Abroad, dito lamang sa SMNI.
Si Mang Juan, si Manong Jess, si Manong Jess, si Mang Juan. Magkatuwang para sa bayan. Dito sa Bayan ni Juan. Bayan ni Juan. Si Senador Juan Ponce Enrile at Jess Aranza. No holds barred na usapan. Dito sa Bayan ni Juan. Bayan ni Juan.
Off detention, the two SMNI anchors, Jeffrey Ka Eric and Dr. Lorraine Badoy, are now free. MJ Mondihar has the details.
Following a week of detention in the House of Representatives, Jeffrey Ka Eric and Dr. Lorraine Badoy have been released. Celis and Badoy host the program Laban Kasama ang Bayan, dedicated to the information war against CPP and PANDF. Celis was first held in contempt for refusing to reveal the source of his inquiry about the alleged 1.8 billion peso travel funds of the Office of the Speaker, while Dr. Badoy faced contempt after she was asked about the program's TV ads.
Ang kalayaan ay pinanindigan, ipinaglalaban, hindi ito ibinibigay. Ang karapatan sa konstitusyon ay dapat nirespeto ng pamahalaan at ito ang aming pinanindigan.
While detained in the House of Representatives, Celis and Badoy conducted a hunger strike, sustaining themselves only on coconut juice and water. Now that they're out of detention, they have ended also their hunger strike, which lasted for about a week.
Gusto kong magpasalamat sa ating mga kababayan na narinig ang boses ninyo, no? Kasi we're very clear that this is not about us. None of this is about just me and Eric. It's about our country, no? Yung pang-aabuso ng mga nasa kapangyarihan.
The members of the House Committee on Legislative Franchises unanimously decided to release the two due to humanitarian considerations. The spouses of Celis and Badoy had previously filed a petition with the Supreme Court to challenge their house detention. They received support from over 100 former generals who signed the manifesto for them. Former cadres of CPP and PANDF also rallied in front of the Batasan complex, urging the release of Celis and Badoy from the detention facility. Celis thanked his fellow rebel returnees and appealed to President Bongbong Marcos.
Actually, na-touch kami talaga kasi tuloy-tuloy na lumawak ang mga former cadre. Libo-libo kami nag-surrender. We hope that the government will see it na are we still standing on just ground? Or do you have a ground to stand on? We hope nakikinig si Pangulong Bongbong Marcos Jr. dito. Sapagkat saan kami pupunta na nagbalik loob at yumakap sa kapayapaan at kumikilala sa gobyerno at nagpailalim sa otoridad ng gobyerno kung kami pala ay nagsasalita tungkol sa transparency, good governance at inibinubulgar namin ito mga CPP and PANDF na sa loob ng gobyerno, pwede pala kaming ikulong ipatawag dito. Yun po ang aming malaking katanungan. Are we still standing on the ground that we believe pwede kami maging bahagi ng pamahalaan sa pagtatagumpay ng kapayapaan laban sa communist terrorism?
The two will return to their respective families to celebrate the holiday season. Despite being released from the House, they will continue to petition for certiorari in the Supreme Court to protest the days they were detained. For Ghana of Philippines, MJ Mondihar, SMNI News.
Former Chief Presidential Legal Counsel described the West Philippine Sea dispute as a cat and mouse issue. He also suggested ways to resolve the conflict between China and our country. Angel Pastor has the news.
Former Presidential Chief Legal Counsel Attorney Salvador Panelo pointed out what he described as an endless issue regarding the West Philippine Sea. This follows the incident involving China's use of water cannons on a Philippine ship. According to Panelo, such incidents have been happening even before the Duterte administration took office.
Yung conflict na yan, talagang walang katapusan yan. It's cat and mouse play. Walang patutunguhan yan kung hindi paulit-ulit lang nangyayari. Bago pa pumasok ang administrasyong Duterte, ginagawa na nila yan. Ang American naman, wala nang ginawa, kundi suportahan tayo sa pamamagitan ng mga pahayag, pagbabanta na ipapatupad ng Mutual Defense Treaty. Ang European Union, ganon din. Puro suporta, wala naman nangyayari.
Panelo believes that the conflict will not end because China asserts ownership of the West Philippine Sea.
Ang kanyang talagang paniniwala sa kanila yung West Philippine Sea. Siyempre, gagawin nila lahat para ipakita na sa kanila yan. Problema naman sa arbitration, hindi rin kinikilala ng China sapagat sabi nila, kayo-kayo lang yan inimbita naman kayo. Ayaw niyong pumasok.
Meanwhile, the former Chief Presidential Legal Counsel also outlined 2 ways to resolve the issue between China and the Philippines in the territory.
The only way to resolve that is dalawa. Number 1, mag-usap yung dalawang pangulo natin na yun lang ang topic nila. They have to create a code of conduct between themselves pag nandun na sa West Philippine Sea, ang gagawin. Pangalawa, gaya ko na sinabi ko, pag hindi pa makuha yan sa santong dasalan, baka gayahin kaya natin ang Vietnam. Ang Vietnam kasi lumalaban. Kaya sabi ko, ano kaya magpadala tayo ng gray ship din natin? Tingnan nga natin kung kikibo ang China. Sa tingin ko hindi ayaw din naman nila yan.
For God and my beloved Philippines, Angel Pastor, SMNI News.
On the Russia-Ukraine conflict, volunteers in Odessa were seen distributing food and basic necessities as the fighting between both sides grinds on. Jane Kishida has the story.
Volunteers were seen distributing food and other basic items to locals in Odessa recently amid the ongoing conflict with Russia. Footage shows residents queuing with their children at the Hostina Kara Center, talking with humanitarian workers and receiving boxes containing dried food and sauces. The hub, backed by the City Council, opened in March 2022. A van from the Food for Life charity is also seen arriving, with charity workers serving portions of hot soup from a makeshift tent. The Food for Life organization stated that it delivers over 500 hot meals from 3 distribution points every day, with over 50 volunteers involved in its operation. Russia launched a military offensive in Ukraine in late February 2022 after recognizing the independence of the Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics, claiming that Kyiv had failed to guarantee their special status under the 2014 Minsk agreements, and urging Ukraine to declare itself officially neutral and give assurances that it would never join NATO. Ukraine denounced the Russian action as an invasion. Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky imposed martial law throughout the country, announcing a general mobilization, while the EU and the US imposed several rounds of sanctions on Russia. Meanwhile, Russia's Central Election Commission recently announced that holding a March 2024 presidential election in the annexed regions is possible. The prospects of holding elections in the annexed Ukrainian regions of Zaporizhzhia, Kherson, Donetsk, and Luhansk were put forward by the representatives of the Commission. These are the 4 Ukrainian regions that were later annexed by Russia last fall. But apart from Luhansk, Russia only partially controls the Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia, and Kherson. Reporting, this has been Jane Kishida, SMNI News.
In other news, Thailand presented its ambitious plans to address climate change in front of the world leaders during the nearly 2-week Global Climate Change Summit in the United Arab Emirates. Chatman Kompasa Magason has the details.
Thailand's Minister of Natural Resources and Environment, Police General Pacharawat Wongsuwan, reaffirmed Thailand's commitment to achieving carbon neutrality by 2050 during climate talks in Dubai. The Global Climate Summit, known as the Conference of Parties or COP28, started on November 30 and ended on December 12. Aside from presenting Thailand's 2050 carbon neutrality commitment, Pacharawat also emphasized the urgency of global cooperation to reach the critical $100 billion climate finance goal by 2025. The Thai minister shed light on the updated National Adaptation Plan (NAP) that serves as Thailand's blueprint for a climate resilient future. The comprehensive plan focuses on critical areas like water management, agriculture, and public health to address climate change. The Thai minister also announced the drafting of Thailand's first Climate Change Act to help regulate emissions and bolster climate resilience. Thailand also aspires to increase its renewable energy use in electricity to 68% by 2040. The Climate Change Summit ended with global delegates divided on whether to reduce or totally phase out fossil fuels. รายงานจากราชบุรี นายชัดมงคลพิสมัยโกศล SMNI ประเทศไทย สวัสดีครับ
And before we end, may be inspired with a message of the appointed Son of God. We will continue to stand for the truth no matter what, without fear or favor. And for our Christmas countdown. It's only 12 days to go before Christmas. And that's all for today's edition of Newsline World. For more news update, you may visit SMNINewsChannel.com or follow us on our official social media accounts on Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Kristel Guangco. Thank you for watching Newsline World, and thank you to our beloved Pastor Apollo Siki Badoy, for the opportunity to be part of this program. May you continue to listen in SMNI as it delivers nothing but fair, truthful, and balanced news. For SMNI is your source of credible news.